the next issue is something that is near and dear to my heart. Mm-hmm. And I want to thank you from the beginning. Is I came to you last fall and said, we have an issue with our cemetery here. And turns out not only that, we have people in Pueblo have issues. Come to find out, 60 Minutes 2 weeks ago did a story, and we find out that it's not just a Trinidad, a Pueblo, or a Colorado issue. It's nationwide. And you were kind enough to help me or get a bill going in the House and take it and run with it from there. What did we do and what happened? What were the problems that we ran into? How hard was it?
Well, it's about the same as it's always been. Nothing's easy. And while it looks like a cemetery issue, come from Pueblo, from Trinidad, and then I found it comes over, it's actually the same thing we've seen many times. It's not a unique, it was a property rights, Tom.
Right.
You own a piece of property. You have certain rights associated with that property. Now, you can have your property taken away from you in many ways. The prime example is your car. If you park your car in the wrong place in Denver, then you will lose your property. They will tow it away, and you've got to get it. But in America, you have certain rights, and it's a property right, whether it's a ranch, a yard, a home, or a funeral plot,
right,
a burial plot. It's a property right. So this really come pretty easy for me as far as understanding the issue because of my knowledge of the property rights and going even back into my grand jury days. Again, that was a property right to keep your environment from being contaminated. So I had a long history of that, and it was because of my experience that we were able to get that. Now, the Attorney General, he did not like that. The majority leader, the minority leader, said, no, you're not going to do that, Bill. But because, not necessarily me, I'll have to give myself a little credit because of the experience, but because of the help. You guys came together from Pueblo and from Trinidad, and we're Boulder. Some people come from Boulder all over. Said, we have a problem. So the citizens got involved, and the citizens come to the Capitol, and through that joint effort, we were able to get that. It wasn't easy. And even the guy down in the basement, our fiscal analysis, Harry?
Harry, yeah.
Oh,
Harry.
He's a sweet fella. I loved old Harry.
Yeah.
He got on board on it, and he told me later, he said, and there's been a few bills here that I've really got interested in, and said this is one of them, and he would get plumb red-faced about how the bureaucracy, the Attorney General, was trying to push us around. That sweet-smelling little fellow that would come into office, look down his nose at us, well, go get a lawyer and go sue. Well, you shouldn't have to do that for what is rightfully yours, which is the knowledge, and all we wanted to do was to say, when you own a burial plot, then we want to know where the money goes, and we have these questions. And because everyone came together, then we got that bill passed, and the governor signed it, and it was a pretty big victory. What was it, 52 in favor? And
52 in the House of Representatives, it was 52-10, with 3 were either absent or I don't think they abstained. They were just absent.
Right. No, you can't abstain from a vote. You have to. But then when we got in the Senate, and we would have got it through.
But let me back up here a little bit. Let me explain to people. We got it through the committee, 11-0.
Right.
And then they started playing games with it. And it took, I think, a month or almost 2 months. We got started early in the session, but the thing that impressed me...
First bill of the session, the number 1 bill.
Yeah. How is it, though, because I was really fascinated by this, the reality is that the Republicans had control, 33 to 32. When it was all said and done, you had, as Lucille Corsentino and I, who helped fight this, said this is not a Republican or Democrat issue, but this is a moral issue. But you still were in the minority.
Right.
How is it that you got this through? Because if the Republicans really want to kill something, they call for party votes. They can do that. How did you get it through?
Well, because I've been there 8 years, I had some credibility, I had some clout, and I had friends on the Republican side.
Right.
Same thing as a Democrat. If a Democrat had been a majority, what they didn't like, they don't. But just because it's a party, if you've got enough strength and enough credibility, then that party doesn't mean much.
Right.
And I never played much party games. I strictly represented the district, did what was legal, followed the Constitution. And by doing that, we won. Now, if you don't do that, you're probably not going to win.
Right.
But we did that because this, again, wasn't a party issue. It was a property rights issue.
Right.
And it was a constitutional thing. And by using that and by doing that, then we were able to get it through. But it wasn't easy because the Attorney General, and it's kind of ironic that it was all of the attorneys that voted against our bill because they followed the Attorney General. They believed him.
They're in a fraternity.
Well,
there are enough lawyer jokes, and I have some lawyer friends that better not say them.
Well, I don't know whether it's coincidence or what, but and it was not had nothing to do with party. But most of the good stuff that we've done, like the all of the property rights stuff, the water issues, the school issues, everything that I've worked on have been strictly all the way across, nonpartisan, I say, because they've been real issues that's affected the country and our state, and that's what I want to bring to Los Animas County.
Is that philosophy?
Yeah, exactly. And that experience. I've often made a joke that I'm a Democrat in a Republican seat. The Republicans always wanted it back, and the Democrats hoped they got it back. But it's because that I've actually represented them. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that. I think that we're going to get involved like you yourself. You've gotten involved, and you saw the process worked, and Lucille saw it worked. A lot of the people did. And boy, those students, those high school kids that come up, they saw the process, and that has worked as getting them involved.
Well, that's what's happening in Trinidad now. It's a different issue with the city and everything, but people are paying attention. Whereas before they didn't.
That works.
And there's a lot of strife right now, but we're going to get through it.
Oh, sure we will. Sure, we're going to get through it. It's a kind of a family fight, and when that's over, we'll come together and we'll move forward. And we will have rooftop, we will have a hospital, we have medical, we'll have that, we'll have school, we'll have it all.
Right. Well, let's wrap this up with one of your biggest accomplishments is again, people don't know all your history, but let's wrap it up with Pinyon Canyon, and then we'll wrap it up. I mean, tell people a little bit about the history of how you got involved and what you did to keep the Army from taking the land and everything else that was stopped.
1982. There was a move. A guy come around, wanted to buy some farms, some ranches out here. They weren't for sale. Then the government used eminent domain to acquire that property for a military training ground. Then we found out later, here, what was it, 2004, 5 or 6, that this move was again. The General Manalo was in Denver talking about a $1 billion boom to the state of Colorado. Then they were going to expand the Pinyon Canyon training area by 1 million acres, and then they ultimately said 400,000 acres would be expanded. My office mate, Beth McCann, was a very nice lady, lawyer, worked in the Attorney General's office, and she said, "Why are you fighting this so hard? There's nothing down there. It's no good. Why do you care?" It's my office mate.
Right.
And I said, "That's my friend, my family, it's where our loved ones are buried, and that's why it's our home, our heritage. That's why I'm fighting." Well, Colorado law lined up with Constitution. The Constitution says the government can acquire property with the consent of the legislature. And then they said the government can acquire property by eminent domain with the consent of the legislature. So I simply ran a bill. I was trying to think how I could stop the acquisition of property if you don't want to sell it.
Right.
Now, if you want to sell it, that's your business. That's a property right, your right to sell. So a lot of people didn't, so I didn't really like that. It was necessary for eminent domain at one time, but no more. So I looked through it, and I found this segment of our law that granted that, so I simply amended that segment to say no acquisition by eminent domain. Now, if we do, let's say, a large body such as the Pentagon or any corporation comes in, whatever, you can even take Shell Oil or whoever you want, Walmart. If they come in and acquired 400,000 acres, what's going to happen to that? Then they're the ones going to be making the profit, and we will become the worker, the indentured servant to that. That's why I want to protect that so that we individually can have pursuit of happiness and private property. We can have our small farms, our small energy generators. Look at what the Earth Mountain Group are doing with their own community garden.
Right.
And we can do a lot of that. We can start that. I want to start some smaller stuff, vegetable stuff. Look at your own farmer's market. Look how successful that's been. We lose all of that when you lose your property to a huge conglomerate, whoever that may be. So that's why I'm trying to fight so hard, why I fought so hard to keep it, so that we can have our own liberty and property in our own homes, in our own place.
Right. Well, we thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Tom, and thank you for the opportunity to have done this for the last 8 years.
Right.
It's been kind of a turning point in my life. A lot of things have happened in my life, but I want to continue, and I want to share that experience. I bring that experience forward, and I offer it to you. And if you honor that, if you think I can, then I'd appreciate your support.
Well, Wes, again, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Good luck in your race. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tom Murphy, and this is Trinidad Now on TTTV and Trinidad Times TV 71 on YouTube. Thank you very much for watching.